This newest adaptation of H.G. Wells' popular novel is about a woman named Cecilia, who has recently escaped the home of her abusive ex-boyfriend Adrian. A few weeks later, she receives news of his suicide, which brings her some relief. However, after experiencing a string of inexplicable circumstances, Cecilia believes that he not only faked his death, but that he has found a way to become invisible and is now torturing her. This is the latest stab at reimagining a property from the Universal Classic Monsters catalog, a franchise that I adore. It's honestly one of my favorite things in all of cinema, and James Whale's The Invisible Man is among my favorite films. I'm also a fan of Wells' original novel, which is an enthralling read. I strongly recommend it. So I couldn't be happier to tell you that Leigh Whannell's modern take on the horror icon is outstanding. Universal has attempted to revive the old faces of horror several times in the past few years, quite unsuccessfully I might add. Of recent note, there was the hyper-gothic The Wolfman from 2010, the heavily panned Dracula Untold from 2014, and the disastrous action horror hybrid The Mummy from 2017, which failed to start the studio's Dark Universe franchise. They just couldn't seem to crack the code on how to make these old terrors work for modern audiences. And this is where Whannell comes into play. If you listen to him in his interviews for this picture, you'll hear Whannell talk about how he tackled this project and how he believes the other Universal monsters should be handled. He says the key to bringing these characters back into the forefront is to make them scary again, and I couldn't agree more. It might not seem like it now, but part of what made these monsters so popular in the 30s and 40s was that they were genuinely frightening. So the trick is to find a way to make them scary for a contemporary audience, and Whannell has exceeded in this task. The Invisible Man takes the bare premise of the original film and goes in a completely different direction. The very concept of someone you can't see stalking you and always being around is spine-chilling. It taps into that fear of the unknown that all of us have. It's like that old example, finding a spider is nowhere near as scary as losing it. Or even the Jaws scenario, where not seeing the monster is much more effective. Alone, this is a fantastic idea with plenty of potential. And then Whannell adds that extra layer that allows this film to soar by making it a story about domestic violence. It's a witty allegory for the invisible but tangible effects an abuser has on their victim, even once the victim is safe. In this case, Cecilia has run away from her controlling boyfriend, but still feels his presence, including after his death. The premise, story, and themes blend together beautifully to create a captivating edge-of-your-seat thriller. The cast is excellent all around. Oliver Jackson Cohen plays Adrian Griffin, Cecilia's boyfriend who she believes has become invisible. Despite not having much screen time, he's very effective, and yes, it fills me with joy that he does in fact bear the last name Griffin. Michael Dorman takes on the part of Adrian's brother Tom, and he too does a good job. Harriet Dyer is great as Cecilia's sister, and Aldous Hodge gives what I predict will be a very underrated performance as Cecilia's police officer friend James. But this truly is Elisabeth Moss's show, and man, what an outing! She takes the script and runs with it. Moss sells the paranoia and fear that comes with this situation in brutal fashion. The character's slow deterioration comes across tragically as a result, which perfectly coincides with the subject matter. More than anything, it's Moss's facial expressions that convey the horror that Cecilia is experiencing. The blank hypnotic stares, the contortion of the eyebrows, it all registers. This is a killer performance and one of the many, many things that makes this movie sensational, which brings me to the filmmaking. This is an immaculately put together motion picture. Whannell's confident touch can be felt in every frame. He employs a tremendous amount of compositional stress to toy with the audience, leaving plenty of negative space for us to wonder where the Invisible Man could be. It's a simple technique in which the viewer often scares themselves with anxiety and anticipation, always worrying about where the threat is hiding. Is he by the counter? Or perhaps next to the door? Did something just move? The camera operates in such a teasing manner that I can't help but imagine the director laughing behind the scenes. Even the handful of jump scares are effective. They're not the cheap jolts you'll find in schlocky horror flicks, but instead, smartly executed reveals with actual payoff and great shock value. And again, if you listen to his interviews, you'll learn of some pretty nifty ideas that they came up with. Some shots were just of an empty hallway, but other times they would have a man stand there and digitally remove him to give the shot an eerie mood. Between takes, Winnell would step in and slightly move a curtain or something. You get the idea that filming this must have been exciting. Special attention needs to be given to the sound design, however. Having a film where the danger is unseen allows the audible components to step into the spotlight. And they go even further than that, creeping under your skin in an expertly uncomfortable way. The sound mixing is remarkably absorbing, generating massive tension with nothing but vacant frames as support. I'd like to give a quick shout out to Universal for hosting the advanced screenings for The Invisible Man in Dolby Theaters. For those of you that don't know, this does not happen. Also, I ended up winning a free shirt by answering a trivia question about the original film. It was a fun event. But Dolby Theaters are famous for their advanced projectors and immersive sound system, and The Invisible Man relies heavily on its use of sound, which is why screenings were held in Dolby auditoriums. So if you get the chance, see it in Dolby. It's worth it. The Invisible Man is a stellar horror picture and a splendid update on a cinematic classic. It's also a lesson in what low-budget filmmaking is capable of. This is a $7 million film that looks like it cost upwards of $40 million. It's incredible. Moss's performance is certainly the takeaway, but I was just as enamored with the craft occurring behind the camera. This movie takes a scary idea and expands upon it greatly, leaving us with an engrossing, unnerving experience. It's relentlessly suspenseful from start to finish, and the scene in the restaurant is an all-timer. And one of my absolute favorite things about this iteration is that it has an abrupt ending just like the films of the Golden Age had, passing on the now common lengthy wrap-up to go out on an emotional high note. Between this movie and 2018's Upgrade, Leigh Whannell looks to be a very promising director with inventive ideas and the talent to pull them off. I give The Invisible Man an A. Thank you so much for watching this review. If you liked the video, then please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for similar content because that would really help me out. You can also follow me on Twitter at MiamiMovieMan, and if you want to keep up with what I'm watching, then go ahead and look me up on Letterboxd as well. I'm the Miami Movie Man, and I'll see you in the next video.